Good evening, everyone. My name is TJ, and today I get to interview Battlestorm, server owner, one of the founders of the server back when it was called Spear Pillar and now known as Draftarig, head coach of the Pittsburgh Celesteelers of Premier League. That's a long intro, but how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for finding time for me today.
I'm excited because like every season, you don't interview like during the season, always at the end, which is fine because it means we get to talk a lot about what happens. And this has overall, as far as league record, you had like your best season. Yeah. How do you feel about the season overall, regardless of playoffs? Yeah.
It was definitely good. I mean, I was 7-1 regular season and took the one loss, and then playoffs lost in the finals, which is about as well as you can do without winning the whole league. And that's actually my third time as runner-up without being champion. So a little disappointing on that, but I mean, you can't be too upset about coming in second place. And Alex did really well, not just against me, but all season. So I'm not upset about losing against him. He did really well against me, and I specifically remember he had a game against Jellyfish, I think, where I felt like he had the best prepped game I've seen, so like ever. So I'm not at all, disappointed about losing to him.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully one of these days I'll be able to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I definitely hope so as well. You definitely have proven that your name is well deserved, Battlestorm. So I know that I've known you for a long time. But other people have only known you maybe for this year, a few seasons ago. Tell me like where the name, Battlestorm like really comes from.
It's actually a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and it's a bird person, basically. Think like the Rick and Morty bird person, and it's kind of like a cross between that and Captain Falcon, and it's a really not good card. It's like a useless card in today's game, and it was not very good when it came out so many years ago. But I just think it's a really cool card. I like birds. Flying types are my favorite Pokemon, and I just thought it was a cool name. So that's where it came from, and I just thought it was cool, so I kept it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a cool name, and it's held up strong for as I guess as long as I've known you, really, right?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so for those of you don't know, Storm and I have known each other since the XY era, and there was a period where I wasn't playing, but Storm was one of the people, along with like picks, that helped rope me back into playing once again. So without him, I wouldn't be here helping out with the server and everything. So I have to thank him for that. So anyway, so let's talk more about.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
By the way, for all your help. So hopefully you are not feeling like it has taken too much time, but I should be thanking you.
No. Well, I definitely some days get tiring doing Pokemon all day, but for the most part, as always, I definitely am here for the wonderful community we have here, and everyone's been very nice to me and to all the other people, and it's all been a lot of fun. So I enjoy it more than anything, honestly.
Well, good.
So now let's go to your team. I'll have it here on the screen for people who aren't as familiar of your team as you are. So, talk to me about like, what you had planned as far as your team this season. I know that you've had a lot of seasons I've watched, and sometimes there have been moments where you've had several snipes to the in one draft, to the point where I was like actually extremely worried for you, because I've never heard you complain about getting sniped, and it was something that was sad to listen to. But regardless, I know that you'll always find a way to have like a fun, a cool team. So talk about like your team. I know like we'll talk about like the changes later, but we'll talk about the team that you had like planned out and everything.
Sure. Yeah, and like you said, there were changes. I did 4 trades all at the end of the season, so we can talk about that. But over my years of playing Draft League, I've kind of, um, I guess I would say, improved my overall focus on how I try to do my teams. And it originally started with me focusing on one type. So, for example, flying type. And I usually draft 2 Pokemon that are flying type. One that would be a wall breaker, one that would be kind of a main win condition. And then I just build the rest of my team up from there. But after last season, I realized I could make my teams even better if I found a way to do it with 2 types. So that's what I tried to do this season, and it definitely worked really well. So the main thing I was trying to do was stack Dragon type. So you can see I have Dragonite and
Yeah.
Naganadel. And in addition to stacking Dragon type, I stacked Flying type. So we have Staraptor and Dragonite.
Oh, wow.
And as a bonus, we got Extreme Speed Spam. So we have Dragonite with Extreme Speed, Arcanine with Terranormal Extreme Speed, and we got to compound that with Staraptor Double Edge, which I don't think I actually used all season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I had a third. I mean, I used Staraptor, but I was just clicking Brave Bird the whole time. But I had a third type in Normal that I would have been able to use. But Normal is, not really
Not
the
as
best type.
effective. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my main thing I was doing, and I was able to get Great Tusk, which is extremely important for this strategy, because without it, I'm basically forced to run heavy-duty boots on Dragonite every game.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get pretty much the best Rapid Spinner available, and it also does a good job of beating Electric types, which my Flying types would do badly against, and Steel types, which a lot of my team would do badly against.
So for you, when you were starting off, you were like, okay, I need to take Great Tusk first because it's really the cornerstone to make sure everything else functions. And usually, some of those other Pokemon that you picked aren't always taken as early.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to go with this Dragon and Flying type strategy, and Staraptor is my favorite Pokemon, so that's why I wanted to do it this time. It finally got moved down to C tier. Figured I'd build around it, and you don't really need to draft Staraptor early rounds, or some of the other things I wanted. But like you said, if you don't take Great Tusk round 1, you probably aren't going to get it.
So I think that this is the first time that you drafted Staraptor ever, right?
Yes, I've used it a lot outside of draft.
Yes.
But in our league, it was always a little bit too steep at B tier.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good C tier. I would not.
I think it's definitely a good
moving...
C tier.
Yeah, I definitely would not advocate moving it down or anything. But it was a little bit worse than I had hoped it would be. So I think it's fine at C tier.
Okay. And it's interesting just because of the fact that, like Dragonite and Staraptor, they're both Pokemon that are on the earlier times. And also, like, when we started in BDSP, like, Staraptor was one of the best things to use. Like, I learned from you, like, how good Bandit or Scarf sets can, like, really do just with, like, Double Edge or Brave Bird.
Yeah. And Staraptor is actually what got me started in this play style of stacking types. Is back in, I guess, Generation 6, when I was starting to get more serious about competitive. I was using Staraptor and Mega Pinsir and Talonflame. And that's kind of when I definitely didn't invent type spamming, but that's when I came into having fun with it myself.
Okay, so I'm just looking at your trades. I know they're all later, but I'll just remember to acknowledge them later. So, in Premier League, there's the toughest trainers, if not, some of the, if not, what is it, 14, if not, like anyone who potentially could be in Premier League are the toughest trainers, in the server. So, going back through some of your games, like who do you think was like your what do you think was like your best match that you had, regardless of the score?
Do you mean like best played game by me, or the best game overall, or however I want to answer it.
It's however you feel like fits the best game for you.
My best played game was definitely the game against Luke. I feel like I had a really good game plan in that game, and I executed it pretty much exactly how I wanted to. And I thought that was definitely the best game I played all year. I think that my best, the best game that I participated in by both players was probably week 1 against Draftarig,
Yeah.
because that was a game where my game plan didn't work. It kind of worked, but not really that well. And I feel like the same thing happened to him. And we kind of both played really well without getting to do exactly what.
Yeah, it was a really close game. I think it was down to the it was like a 1-0 game, right? First for week 1? Or is that a different, or am I looking at it wrong during one? But you had a bunch of close games from what I recall. I only got to watch a handful of them, but yeah, I think. Oh yes, I was right. It was a close 1-0 because I remember the whole thing with Arcanine up against the likes of Aloma Lola, and it was interesting to see because the fact that it was like a Terrid Aloma Lola, but yeah, I think that, and then like you said before, when it comes to like Luke, like for those of you who have never fought Luke or watched any of Luke's battles, like he was a champion for season 1 for a reason, and he's one of the toughest people I've ever I've seen fighting against. He just has these strategies which are just require, I feel like, mental endurance. Does that feel like a good way to describe like fighting against Luke, Storm? Like it takes more brain power than like trying to fight other people. Oh shoot. Oh my gosh.
And
how long did I fall off?
Sorry, what?
Did I fall off? Did I fall off the stage? Or no?
What do you mean fall off the stage? I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because I think I couldn't hear. Actually, I jumped into the stage on my phone by accident. So I think I missed some of the stuff that I may have asked you.
I feel like I heard you the whole time. Maybe you didn't hear me. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, he uses like 4 defensive Pokemon at a minimum, and there's usually 1 or maybe 2 that are actually focused on offense, and he kind of just wins by attrition. He'll just try to make you gas out, basically, which is very effective. And I was happy that I was able to figure out a way to beat it.
All right. So now I will take some time to look at questions from the audience. Here I have one from Daizuk. We'll start with your first one, and we'll leave your other one for a little bit later in case anyone else has to ask one. So your first one is, Daizuk's question is, how do you feel about the idea of branding to Club Wiggly next season?
Yeah, so I'm sure most people don't know, but I have engaged in a bet where if I lose to the Wigglytuff player, who has to bring Wigglytuff, by the way, you can't have a Benchworm or Wigglytuff, then I will rebrand my team to Wigglytuff Club or Club Wiggly or whatever. And Daizuk is taking me up on that challenge. So he, unless he's all talk, he will bring Wigglytuff when he plays me, and he will lose because Wigglytuff will drag him down. But if by some accident he does win with Wigglytuff, then I will rebrand. So to answer the question, how do I feel about it? I don't feel anything at all because it's not going to happen.
So for those of you who don't really know like Wigglytuff and like why you have certain issues with it, what is it about Wigglytuff that has just made you dislike it so much, if anything?
It's just kind of a meme at this point. I used it in season 1, and I didn't use it very well, and I dropped it, and Kira kept making a big deal over it, about how I dropped Wigglytuff without giving it a chance, and
That's right.
it just kind of it just kind of turned into a big
It just elevated into something
long
much more than
joke
that.
over 2 years. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, all you Wigglytuff fans, you got your emoji. I hope you're happy. It cost me my emoji, but I hope you're happy. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So let me just go back to your team and stuff like that. So, I liked a lot of cool members of your team. Like, I didn't get to see one, but seeing Mega Banette is always like a fun member of the team. Um, and then Sylveon was later, but let's see what else here. Cobalion. So, what did you think about overall, like the other members of your team that you didn't really get to talk about?
Mega Banette was really good. I did use it in probably about 3 games, so not a lot, but
mhm.
it it was it was pretty good. It definitely carried its weight as an E tier. I think, I mean, I would have to say Arcanine did the most work.
Oh my God, it
I
got
don't know.
so many kills. 9 kills for
Yeah,
those of you who aren't looking at the stream right now.
I probably should have used it more because it got those 9 kills all in 3 games, and
Yeah, it could have been kill
I
MVP.
yeah, well, I don't think it was ever gonna get there, but I probably should have used it a little more. I think I used it in um one of my games didn't get played, but I would have had 10 games, and I would have
Mhm.
used it in the game that didn't get played. So I think including that, I would have used it in 6 out of 10 games.
Okay. And I pulled up for those of you who don't know, I pulled up some of the original members of Storm's team before he traded back and thing. So he traded like Slowking, like Masquerada, Electrode, and like Sandslash. Um, so was there any particular reason was it more match based about the Pokemon, or were there certain like locker room issues on why you traded them?
Huge locker room issues. No, just kidding. They were all hard counters. So I had the benefit of doing really well, and I made it to the end of the year, and I was pretty much able to be locked into the playoffs and
Mm-hmm.
see which other teams were probably going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that far without using any trades, so I just dumped all of my trades into hard counters. I got Sylveon because it kind of became obvious that I needed a fairy type
Mm-hmm.
when I lost to Gene. So that was a trade that I thought would have helped a lot if I had to play against him. I thought it was going to be a decent trade against Alex too because it was good against Raging Bolt
Yeah.
and a few other things on his team, but then he didn't end up using that, so it wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
Magnezone was another one that was a trade that was intended to. Actually, it was kind of good against everyone. That was also pretty good against Gene. It was really good against Luke. It was good against Jelly. It was usable against all the playoff teams. I used it against Draftarig and against. No, I didn't use it against Alex, but I thought about it.
Okay.
And Aurora's ended up being kind of bad, but I thought that would be good as well. And Cacturn was just to kind of be funny, I guess.
Okay. I was wondering about that last bit because, like, it's a Pokemon that I don't think I've ever really seen you use or would use because of how slow it is, and like you're not someone who likes to rely on Sucker Punch, but it does have like, was it Water Absorb as an ability? So I think, or is that, am I confusing it with Maractus only?
You are correct. It has Water Absorb, and it can do some things for sure. I could have used it against Alex for Sandvale,
Mm-hmm.
though he didn't bring Tyranitar, so
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't do that. I mean, it's not useless, but I I kind of never really had an intention of using it. I just had a fourth trade, so I
Gotcha.
felt like using it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the things I traded away, Meowscarada, I looked at everyone's rosters, and it was not very good against any of the playoff teams besides Draftarig, who I did end up playing, but
Yeah.
the rest of them I don't think I would have used it, so that's why I got rid of that. Slowking just kind of had to go to make room for the other ones.
Okay. So you got to talk about a little bit about, like you said, the trades were mostly to help design. But was there any Pokemon like you felt like just like least valuable, like your least valuable player of the ones that did get traded?
Um, yeah, I mean, Electrode was not very good. I only used it once, and it was against Gene, and it was brought specifically to be a switch-in for Thundurus, and then he didn't use Thundurus, so it didn't do very much. But the other three were all really good, and I was kind of sad to have to trade them. But I guess that's how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more just about like draft league outside of things. So like we played obviously together even before Terra existed, and things like how do you feel like draft league is like the way we do things with Terra? I don't remember if I asked you this last season, but I figure I just ask you again anyways.
Terra is pretty fun, and I like it. I like playing with Terra more than I like playing without it. So I think that speaks well to the mechanic. I feel like our Terra rule is good. I've tried some other leagues' Terra rules, which I like also. So there's always pros and cons. There's some good things to the way we do ours, and there's some not as good things about it as well, and that goes for every league. But I think our Terra rule is pretty fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's nice that we let more of the lower Pokemon use it, and that we don't have an overwhelming number of Pokemon that can like use more than like the standard two, because at least like in my experience with other leagues, I've seen that they have freedom to kind of do any typing, which would be fine, I guess, in certain scenarios. But I feel that as far as prepping for it, it makes it much more of a headache sometimes. That's my
Yes,
opinion.
I've played in leagues where they do. You can pick any type to tear into, and it is harder to prep for. But it's also, the other side of it is that you can be creative and you can come up with fun sets for different tear types on your own side, and then your opponent has to worry about that. So it's kind of a two-way thing.
Yeah. Um. So I think I've probably mentioned this before about how like Premier League's very tough. What was your experience like overall, like in Premier League, regardless of all the wins and losses? Like, how much fun did you have playing against like people in the league, things like that?
I had fun every week, even the ones I lost, and I had fun prepping for the games, and I felt like all the games were difficult, and I felt like I could have lost any of them. So it was really competitive, and I think that makes it fun in its own way. Also, really challenging, but fun in that way too because it's rewarding if you do well, and even if you don't do well, you can improve a lot that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Whenever I lose, I try to look at the game and figure out why I lost and learn from it, so I try not to lose that way again.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely find myself doing the same after like losses. Like, look, this thing I could have done differently. Um. So Premier League, you've had people that you've been with in season one, and this season you have our good friend and your one of your also DLCs, Pi, being relegated. As someone who's had a long time friendship and rivalry, friendship rivalry with Pi, how does that make you feel to know that he's no longer going to be a part of Premier League?
Sad to see him go. Pi is one of the most creative players that I have played against, and that makes him fun to play against and fun to watch play. I mean, obviously, I can still watch him play in the next league, but it's always fun to play against him. And I have considered Pi my rival. I feel like we're kind of two sides of um, you know philosophies on battling. He likes to get really creative with things that nobody would ever think of,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm known for using more standard things. Although I think I've gotten good at maybe using standard things in ways that are less expected. But up until this season, we have had really similar overall records, and I still consider him my rival, of course, even though I won't get to play him next year or next season. But yeah, kind of disappointed that I won't have that to look forward to this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's like you said. It's interesting. It's like you said, your philosophies are different. But I've noticed that you've had more spicy sets sometimes. Like I noticed the choice specs Miascaratus thing I don't really see from most people, so that definitely didn't feel cookie cutter at all. That's the one that comes most to mind. But like, do you have like a set that you remember that you felt was like more pie-ish or pie-inspired from your teams?
Yes, and we barely got to see it, unfortunately. But against Jean, I used a Dragonite with Fly. Its moveset was
Oh,
Dragon Dance, Roost, Substitute, Fly. And the reason I did that was because Jean had a Ditto.
yes,
And if you use Fly, then the
yes.
Ditto can actually never hurt you.
Oh,
Um,
that's so
and
smart.
and Gene only had one flying type resist on his whole team, so
Mm-hmm.
I was able to try to use my bird spam there. I mean, I lost that game, so it didn't quite work, but that was probably my spiciest set in that Dragonite. And unfortunately, we just got to see it use fly like an idiot and die. But it could have worked better.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if anyone else can use it in a slightly more successful manner. What was the art? What was the item on that, by the way?
Leftovers.
Okay.
Not very interesting, but it was supposed to be able to use substitute on things,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That's why I figured like it's gonna be a different item than what I expect because of the fact that it has substitute on it.
yeah.
Okay. Um. So now we're gonna talk a little bit more about the server. Like I said before, you are one of the founders. And it's grown a lot more since what we started as just like a BDSP thing. Like, how does it feel knowing that as far as draft league participants, we've hit over 100 in like one league, or across many leagues, but across like one season.
It's great. I mean, I remember the first time we played in season one, we had two leagues with about 26 or 28 people total, and we basically add one or two leagues every season, and that's mostly not because of me. I mean, I've helped definitely, but we're at the point where other people are contributing more than I am when it comes to recruiting or running the league and things like that. So I feel like it's been a joint effort by so many people, not even just the mods, but the people who participate and make the community fun and tell their friends and help make it a really great league. So it's really, I think it's really rewarding for everybody involved.
Yeah, I shout outs to all the people who have helped bring more competitors to all of our events. You know, Steve Guy or Byram or anyone in we like Xterm or Allo or Daizook and Gavaga of course, and even NHTL's con man, so to speak, even though he's not active in our server. All of you have obviously played a role in expanding our server and bring lots of great competitors to give spectators and all of us like more opportunities to have fun. Yeah. Hi, Cece. And hi to Senda. I don't remember if I said hi to you before. What was I gonna say? So I know that we have like I said, a lot of competitors, a lot of leagues. Um, is there any team that you like to actively cheer for, like in other leagues?
Oh, you already know. My all-time favorite team is Kyle Crow, Kyle of Kyle Crow. He came in this year as a sub, and
Yeah, he
he's
did.
been played a couple times. Kyle is my favorite team
Shout
to
out to
vouch
Kyle
for.
Crow.
Yeah, big
Um,
shout out to Kyle Crow. But there's also, well, unfortunately, Pix didn't finish the season, but
yeah,
I really enjoy a good Pix game. Pix, similar to Pi, comes up with all kinds of zany sets that are absolutely unhinged, and
agreed.
he's beaten me with them before. so I respect the skill, but it's very fun to watch. So probably shout outs to those two more than anyone else. I also like watching Habs. I think he's fun. And I guess Pie's up there too. So I'll be able to cheer Pie on without any conflict of interest since we'll be in.
Yeah, unless you become an enemy of his alliance, right? For whatever reason that he may join.
Could be, yeah. I guess you never know if I wind up in an enemy alliance, we might be rivals in a different way.
I think you neglected to mention like one more team. I think you even created a role for it. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
The Reggie team.
Yeah, Reggie Roasters, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, you know, Fat Cat had a great season, so obviously he did really well. And the thing that I found a little unfortunate about his team was that he did well in spite of drafting all the Reggies, not because of drafting all the Reggies. And
Yeah.
that is why I didn't mention him. He had all of the Reggies on his team, which is crazy. But I didn't see him using them very much. I mean, he had 6 of them, so
Correct.
he always had to use at least one.
Correct.
But a lot of the time he had 5 Reggies on the bench, and he was still winning his games. So I mean, props to him for that. But yeah, I was a little disappointed by the lack of Reggie usage.
Oh yeah, same. I didn't put him, wasn't too hard on him, but I definitely pointed out the fact that on his stats page, Reggie Gigas didn't come once. He did mention that there were matches that he wanted to complete, but because of forfeits, he couldn't really use them. So I'm hoping next season everyone on his team gets to play at least once. I have an unwritten rule where I have to use every team member at least once on my team before I trade it, because you get drafted, you should have an opportunity to play. But that's my philosophy at least. Gosh. Does Boss Baby have a question? And so, Storm, right, we got to talk about the server a little bit. Is there anything you want to... So, we've rebranded, obviously, from Spirit Pillar because that was a PDSP, and now we've moved forward into new generation, which is, crazy to think about, lasting long enough to jump into a new generation and still being quite active. Is there anything you want to share with, the people who are listening, or going to be watching the video later about what type of plans, are in store for Draftarig?
A little bit, yeah. I don't want to talk too much and accidentally reveal something that might not end up happening. But I think everyone has noticed that a lot of the mods have been, and not just the mods, but mostly the mods have been working on content, and hopefully I'll have some time to help with that here soon. And more of a focus on just draft league in general. So I think it's safe to say that we're going to have some different types of leagues coming soon, which probably everybody will find pretty fun.
Okay, yeah. I think we touched up on a little bit in one of our earlier announcements, but I'm glad that people are happy to hear about the fact that there are going to be more options available. And then, are these things going to only be offered in the off season? Or are these things that are going to be offered along with the season, depending on participation? If I'm allowed to ask that.
I guess that's up in the air, but I feel like when we do our main line leagues, like what we just had, we probably want to let everybody focus on that. So I imagine they'll be off season for the most part, if not all.
Okay. All right. And I'm trying to think. Boss Baby or Tsenda, do you have any questions? I fear I take some from the audience before I jump into anything else I might have to ask from for Storm. No. Oh, Boss Baby's typing. No. Okay. All right. So Storm, I know that you've also been battling in some other leagues yourself. You want to talk about want to talk about those leagues before, and then we'll talk about your finals match?
Yeah, I've dabbled in some other leagues. Recently, I finished the Smogon League, which was a Paldea Dex League, and it was a little bit different than normal leagues because it had 416 players in it.
Yeah. My
Swiss
God.
format, so giant league. You have to play like 9 rounds of Swiss, and then you can hopefully go into top cut. So I ended up finishing top 16 in that one, which, I mean, anytime you get top cut in a large Swiss tournament, I think you got to feel good about it. I was a little disappointed by my loss because I lost. I felt like I lost due to a freeze. My Mew got frozen while I was trying to lay down extra spikes, and it sat there frozen for 4 turns and then
Oh
died.
my God,
And,
that is
and
painful.
then I ended up losing the game because my opponent had something that survived on 1% HP, which of course would have died if I got the spikes up.
Of
So,
course.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's
It's just
how
a
the game
annoying
goes.
loss, right?
Yeah, but I mean, top 16 in that large of a field, I think it was a success for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Top cut is amazing in a 400 person like type tournament. That's amazing. So congrats to that top cut.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
okay. So I know we're getting close to that end of time. So we haven't really gotten to talk about playoffs. I know because we've been talking about everything else. So yeah, as the one who finished first, you got the bye, and then in the second round of playoffs, you got to play Draftarig once again. What was your thoughts like having to fight someone that you've already faced in the past and had a very close match?
It was an interesting game because I did 4 trades and he did 3, and our teams were really different, mostly because he traded away his Weavile, which happened to be really problematic for my team.
Yeah.
So it made my build completely different than the first time, and I was able to use that substitute Naganadel set because I didn't have to worry about getting ice sharded, and it was what won me the game. So it was, I mean, pretty much a completely different game because both of us changed our teams so much.
Yeah. And although I think Draftarig is actually taking a small little break from our server, um, I hope he's doing okay. I know he's had some stuff, but I hope he's going okay. That's all I'll say. Uh, yeah, like you said, it was a commanding win. Well earned, obviously, regardless of the circumstances. And going in, you got to fight against easily one of the toughest battlers in the server, Alex. Um, what was the prep like going in for that one?
I prepped a lot for Houndstone and Tyranitar and Raging Bolt, and he didn't use any of them.
You're
So
right.
I ended up with a team that was, not my game plan wasn't correct, especially because he brought Trick Room, which is my my old worst enemy, back to being
Yes.
my new worst enemy, and he basically ruined my game plan by using Trick Room. I had that great Tusk set, which
Mhm.
was capable of beating his whole team, but because I had to pull it out too early, he was able to wear it down with his priority moves. So, I mean, he definitely did well by winning with his low tiers and figuring out a team that he could bring that I wouldn't be prepared for.
So obviously, you get to see when the pre-match preview, you get to see everyone on the team. What were your thoughts when you saw Rapidash Galar, knowing that it was going to be in the starting lineup in the finals?
They were not. I was not thinking that it was going to use Trick Room. I thought it was there to try to like counter Dragonite,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess it kind of did, but I really didn't expect it to use Trick Room.
Yeah, it's a Pokemon that doesn't have to use Trick Room because it's pretty fast. It's over 80 base speed, so it's usually not the best candidate. But I guess because I used it in my team, I would think to myself, there's a chance, like you said, a chance of Trick Room, but there's no guarantees. Um, Now, during the match, obviously, your Great Tusk did really well, got a lot of kills. You died later, but prior to that, when I was looking through the replay, in Trick Room, you had, I guess, like a matchup between Arcanine and Piloswine. Um, if you don't, if you're, if you don't mind me asking, do you feel like, there could have been a better move in that particular turn?
Yeah, I might have lost the game there. So I think what happened was Piloswine was in against Arcanine, and I switched into Dragonite to dodge an Earthquake, which was correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, I needed to stall out Trick Room, and he could have either gone for Earthquake to try to predict the switch, or use his Ice move to hit Dragonite. And he got the prediction correctly. I thought that he would go for Earthquake, so I left Dragonite in. He killed it, and then I sent Arcanine in, and I don't remember if I miscalculated it or why I thought Arcanine would survive there. Maybe he used the Terra.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Terra could have made a difference for you.
Yeah, he definitely Terra grounded, and I was thinking the whole time he was going to be Terra Ice.
Okay. Because the fact that you're Dragonite or you're Staraptor.
Yeah, basically to Ice Shard things, because I have kind of an Ice weakness. So I thought that's what was going to happen. I should have Terra Normaled it, because my Terra Sylveon didn't really end up doing anything. So if I could do that again, I would have just Terra Normaled it and then attacked it. It was also a really weird Arcanine set that I was using with like Play Rough to hit the Raging Bolt.
Yeah, I was wondering about the sets, but it made sense, in the context of like you said, you're preparing for like Raging Bolt or some other mons.
Yeah, it also had Wild Charge because that was good against Tentacruel.
Okay.
So it had a lot of like random moves. It was basically just supposed to get a Flame Charge off and then kill something that he thought would counter it, and it didn't really work.
No. Well, that's the game we play, right? With Draft League, we prep and we think of some mons, and sometimes they just don't show up. Sadly, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then one more question I had about the match is did Sylveon have Mystical Fire?
No.
Okay.
It was a Trailblaze Sylveon with Psyshock, Trailblaze, Calm Mind, and Hyper Voice. Now,
okay.
It was a very hyper offense team with screens. Now, the way I could have won that game, potentially, maybe not, but the line that I should have taken was that I should have sent Naganadel in against Lucario and used Flamethrower, because it was a Scarf Naganadel with Beast Boost special attacks. So if it had killed the Lucario, then it would have got a special attack boost, and maybe it would have got through the rest of his team. But I know it was an Assault Vest Tornadus, and also it should have been a roll to kill that Lucario, which is why I didn't just send it in and do that. So if I had done things differently there, maybe it would have gone better, or maybe I still would have lost. I don't know.
Yeah, well, either way, you made it to finals, even if you didn't win the whole thing, making the finals, and you had a good match still, even if you didn't win the whole thing. So
yeah, thank you. Wasn't my best game there, but can't be too upset about coming in second. But like I said earlier, that was my third time coming in second. So I wanted to mention that next season I am going to be trying a little bit different play style, because even though I'm doing well and having fun playing how I've been playing, I basically used the same team 3 seasons in a row. I mean, the Pokemon have been all different, but I'm kind of doing the same thing, just a little better each time. And this time I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently, because I think it'll be fun, and I think maybe it can be better.
Definitely looking forward to see like that play style, whether it's a little bit more spicy or a little bit more tactical. Either way, I figured you'll be testing it here and there to modify as needed. I know you only have a little bit more time left, right, Storm? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, maybe a few minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. That's why I just want to probably just close up with maybe one or two questions. So is there anything you want to say to your Pittsburgh Celesteelers fans after this season?
To the fans, which I don't know if I have that many fans. I think I'm more of a villain team, maybe. Maybe neither. But to the fans, I'm sorry I didn't pull through in the last game. But hopefully it was a fun season.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that you definitely have fans. I definitely am someone who supports your team every season. I can't actively say that out loud during a lot of interviews, but because I'm supposed to be the most neutral person. But like I said, you're one of the people I've known for such a long time, and and you've helped me numerous times with my battling stuff, so I've been appreciative. So I guess my last question is anything you want to say to people in the server for anything else up ahead?
Not a lot, I guess. Thanks everyone for having a fun league, and like I said before, thanks to those who helped organize it. Thanks to those who just help by participating and making it fun and welcoming for everybody. Congratulations if you did well, or if you won your league, or if you got promoted. And most important thing, I think, is if you didn't do that well, if you're disappointed or you got relegated or something like that, don't get too down about it. We've all had bad seasons, and that includes me. And I think, as long as you don't get too encouraged, and as long as you keep trying to have fun with it, you can learn from those seasons and bounce back and do better. And I know a lot of people in this server feel pressure about getting relegated or things like that, but we've all been there. We're just trying to do our best and have fun. So if you do get relegated, nobody's gonna think that you aren't good enough for anything or anything like that. It just means that you didn't have the best season, but you'll probably do better next time.
And thanks for all your time, Storm, and thanks for that great message. That I think that's a great form of encouragement to any people who are in Draft League now, and maybe they haven't had their best season, or even people who are intimidated by Draft League. Like, we're all here as a community to have fun, play Pokemon, and there are lots of people who are willing to support and help people out with people who are new competitive and looking to improve. But yeah, stay tuned, and thanks again for everyone who joined in for the interview, and catch you next time.
Thank you. See ya.